I have finally reached the point in my career where I have to practice programming just to keep it fun, entertaining, and I don't know, keep the skills up. So today I think I'll start slow. I'm just doing an Advent code problem, a day one at that, so there are no challenges here. And actually, I'm only going to cover the part I found entertaining for me. So an Advent code day one of 2025, all you had to do was create a dial that turned right, turned left, and when it hit there's only like 99 things on the dial. You know how you have a dial and you have to turn it, right? And if you hit 99, then it goes to zero. But if you go all the way backwards and you hit zero, then you go to 99. Yeah, that's all you had to do. And then you just had to count how many times you either hit zero, whether it be in the final dial or when you went past it, depending on part one or part two. Like those parts, not important. But creating the dial, I found that slightly entertaining. So here it is. Here it is in Rust. The dial itself is pretty straightforward. It's just a struct where you have your min value, have your max value, so you know when to do the wraparounds, and then you have to have a value that tracks the value that the dial is on, right? And then for this problem, you had to have a start that wasn't zero, so you had to pass in a value to do a start, giving a started value, more or less, right? But the logic in terms of the wraparound is encapsulated in the increment and decrement methods. Standard way of doing it. Nothing wrong with doing it. It just feels kind of boring to me. Like this solution is fast because Rust is fast, but it was kind of boring. So let me show you how it did in Python. Here's the Python solution, which is almost identical. There are some slight differences. You can set default values. That's very nice, very nice. I don't know how to do that in Rust. If you know how to do that in Rust, because I don't believe you can, but if you can and you know how to do that in Rust, leave a comment and point me in the right direction. Much appreciated. So the part that I find interesting about Python is for the increment and decrement, I can do things where I don't have to add that logic of the wraparound there. Instead, I could move it out because right now you can see my increment and decrement, and it's just +1 and -1. Nothing about a min or a max. The min or a max comes in when you use the properties. So in Python, you can use a property decorator, and then this more or less just gives you a getter and setter for the value or slash property, right? I guess this is probably bad variable naming since my value and property, forget all that right now. Right now, we were just looking at the value.setter decorator. And in there is where I did the wraparound logic. So what happens in Python is anytime I set this value for this property, which is ironically named value, ignore that. It will go into the setter and then go into the setter logic and then do the wraparound for me, which is why I can have the increment and decrement be very, very plain and just be +1, -1. Was that needed for this problem? No, but it's fun to play around with stuff. Anyway, this entertaining, not as fast as the Rust stuff, but still very entertaining to me.